going to do a little mudding here this morning. I'm going to film the process, put together a little tutorial for all my friends here on Patreon. If you've been following my projects for a while, you've seen it in the cabin, in the homestead, and even here at the camp. All of the drywall has a texture to it. I do that for a number of reasons. First off, because I just don't like smooth drywall. Second, because I never got any good at doing smooth drywall. Third, I didn't bother getting good at it because I don't like it, so why bother? I could go on and on like that, but in a nutshell, I do the texturing because I just really like the look of the textured drywall. It's a nice rustic appearance. There's also a lot of advantages to it. If you're doing smooth drywall, it's hard for a novice to get the walls nice and smooth and have them blemish free. And I'm a novice at that. But basically, if you have any dings in the wall, maybe you had some photos, you took them down, maybe your cabin does some settling or has some frost heaves or it moves around at all, that happens, you're going to have rips in your seams, some cracks. If the place settles in the corners, the paper tape will ripple. You're going to have problems. And it's much harder to disguise that. With a texture, bang the wall with something, quick fix with some mud on the trowel, a little paint over it, never know it's there. If the corners ripple and tear, get in there with a knife, just cut that loose stuff out, put the mud back in. There's really no wrong way to do this. I'm going to show you how I apply it, but there's a lot of different ways. You can do it where you see the trowel marks, like the old-fashioned stucco look. Sometimes you see on ceiling where they do patterns. Myself, I don't like that. I don't like the trowel marks. I started doing it and developed my own technique where it's like a random, I'm not going to even say pattern, it's just put on there randomly, and I like the look of it. For the texturing, I use regular drywall compound straight out of the bucket. What I'm going to use here for the texturing, this is a rounded trowel. I think they call it a pool trowel. That's what I've been using for quite a few years. I use a square one like that too, and sometimes just a little masonry trowel like this to get into some of the tight areas in the corners. As you can see, I wasn't real fussy with my taping or how much mud I put on the wall. That's the beauty of the texturing. You don't have to be fussy, not like trying to do a smooth wall. I grab some of my mud like that, put on some, and then just start moving it around. The type of texture you want, just experiment. The thicker you put it on, the rougher the texture will be, but unfortunately the more compound you're going to go through. I try not to continue in the same method. If I'm using my right hand, I tend to keep sweeping like that, but I don't want to see a pattern on the wall like that, so I'll go that way. I use my left hand, I switch hands, I'm back and forth. This is just how I like it. I don't like to see the continuous pattern like that. Now up on the tape, yeah, I put some there. I'm just going to work it up to the corner. I work it in. I got little trowel marks. Myself, I just don't want the trowel marks. Yeah, just pushed it right into the corner, wipe that trowel mark away. Do that again. I'm taking a little bit of mud on my trowel, like that. I like a thick texture, so I go through the mud. Now I can do most of the work with this round trowel. Now when I'm doing this, I try not to develop a pattern where I keep pushing it in and pulling it away, pushing it in, pulling it away, and having all these downward sweeps away from the corner. So, like I'll push that in, get it brought into the corner, and maybe pull that one to the side. Get some more, get that in there, push it in, maybe come that way with it. Now, I'm getting a little thin here. Do that. Now I got something to work with. Grab some more mud. Continue the process. If you put some on, found out you didn't really like it, you just pull it right off, start back over. Like I said, there's no wrong way to do this. If you've never done drywall before, or you have very little experience, this is a way to make a nice looking wall, professional looking wall with little to no experience. And then it's an easy fix, like I said. You have a blemish or a crack in the wall or a blister in your tape that you didn't catch, very easy to fix it. I'm going to continue this process right on down the wall. My apprentice over here. Okay, so here you can see some of the texturing. This is dry now. I'm not working any specific pattern. Just spreading it on there, roughly 1/8 of an inch thick. There's some thicker spots. I don't really have any specific trowel marks. It's just back and forth, sweeping left to right, up and down. And that's all there is to it. So as you can see, there's nothing technical about it. It's not rocket science. What I highly suggest is you practice in an inconspicuous spot, like in the back of a closet maybe. Get yourself a routine down. Find what type of a pattern that works for you. Some people like to see the back and forth trowel marks. Gives it that old-fashioned stucco look. Myself, I don't really like those crisp lines of the trowel. That's why I use this round trowel. And I just sweep the mud back and forth. When you get started on this, and the mud starts drying, it's going to look like crap. So don't be alarmed. You're going to be going, oh, I don't know, it looks uneven. It's just because the thinner spots are going to dry quicker. But it really will. It's going to look lousy as it's starting to dry. Especially spots like here where the mud is very, very thin. But when you go ahead and prime and paint this, that won't show up. So I wouldn't worry about it. But if you want, you can just prick a little bit of mud and go right over it, if that bothers you. I've been doing this now for quite a long time. How I got started with this is I used to do the smooth drywall. Like I said, I wasn't any good at it. Then I started doing my ceilings where I would spread the mud on in the manner that I'm showing you. Then I would take a roller with a regular pad for painting and just go back and forth with it. and that left a really nice texture. Now there are rollers that you can buy for texturing, but it left it a little bit rougher than I like. If you use just a regular one for painting, cheapest one you can find, spread on your mud, and then just roll it back and forth, it leaves a really nice texture for ceilings. Myself, I don't like it on the walls, but it's nice for the ceilings. If I had a roller, I would do a little demonstration for you, but I don't have one. I want to touch base on the trowels just a little bit. If you're planning on doing a good amount of drywalling, invest in some stainless steel tools. It took me several years before I did it, and I haven't swapped over to complete stainless yet. Like this pool trowel, this masonry trowel, they're not stainless. Even though I wipe them down after I clean them, they'll often get a little rusty film, and as I'm working, I'm depositing rusty colored mud on the wall. I just want to avoid that altogether. But if you get your trowel and you get a little rust on it, just take some sandpaper, sand it off, and then wipe it off, and then you'll be able to get mudding with it. But my other tools, like my corner trowel, this here, this tape knife, they're stainless steel, just fantastic. You wipe them off, you don't got to worry about rust, you don't got to worry about sanding them, nothing. It's well worth the investment. I'm going to be ordering a stainless steel pool trowel online tonight. I was looking at them on Amazon. I think the reason why I hadn't bought one yet, I bought all my tools over at Home Depot, and they did not have a stainless steel pool trowel at the time. Working with knives like this, you can get away with a plastic one, and of course they're not going to rust, but I've never seen something like that pool trowel made of plastic, and that's what I use for all of the texturing, which you're already seeing. When all of your mud is dry, before you paint, you might find some spots that might be a little bit too thick. Maybe there's some dry globs on there. You can just take your sandpaper on a sanding block and knock it down a little bit. And then when you prime and you paint, you won't notice any of those spots that you've touched up with the sandpaper. We usually just give it one coat of primer and then 2 coats of paint. We used to use a flat ceiling paint. Then when we did the bedroom in there and in these closets and in the pantry, we tried the eggshell finish. Outstanding results. It's just a nice hard finish, and it works great with this texture. I highly suggest that you go with the eggshell finish. So I guess that's it. Give it a try. Get a couple samples of drywall. Get your technique down. Start in a closet somewhere in the back. Let it dry. See what you like. You might like a lighter finish. Some people might want it heavier. You might like the old-fashioned look with the trowel marks in it. Myself, I've had really good results just doing it this way. I've had a lot of people asking questions about this, and I hope this gives them the answers they were looking for. So all the best to you folks. God bless.